afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm Ty.
Hi, everyone.
And we are learning support team.
We may be on camera and we may not be, so just a heads
We're going to be
up.
We're just going to give you an overview of the services that we provide, the resources that are available here for students. And we're answering questions. You want to talk a little bit about So this is my second year at St. Mary's, but this is my 20th year. Ashley's been here a little bit longer than I have.
Not really. This is actually my first year working at St. Mary's. I graduated from St. Mary's almost 20 years ago. But this is my first year back working. So it's been a learning year in a lot of ways because previously I've taught special ed in the public school system. So I've been learning a lot right alongside Dr. Higgins, and it's been really nice to see how at an independent school you can give girls what they need specifically and watch them grow. So it's been a great year so far, and I'm really happy to be back. It's been a welcome.
Because as she will say, she's nationally board certified.
Yeah.
Expertise in curriculum instruction, certified to be a principal. You've had similar experiences.
I would say our combined experience has really been nice to learn from each other. So, but my heart really is with the kids, so that's why I'm not doing any of those other things right now.
And it helps inform our support of the students because we know strategies, but we also understand key instructional curriculum. All right, so the second question that we're going to be focusing on today is how is learning support defined and facilitated, right? Because learning support has different connotations and different meanings in different independent school settings, right? There's different models for the support. So our support services, we provide accommodations for students. We walk parents through the evaluation process if there is anything that's being observed that could be a barrier to learning. And we also support all of the students with academic content support as well as executive functioning skills support. So that's, I would say St. Mary's is a little different because we explicitly provide support with executive functioning skills, which is something that's now our neighboring schools are continuing.
And that's not really exclusive to students with accommodation plans. That is something that students can schedule, just if they're having a particularly rough time and they don't have a reason to have a plan that stays with them forever, they can schedule sessions with us without having a diagnosis or any other formalized plan. So I think that yes, it's very unique that we offer executive function skill instruction, but also that it's available to all of the girls.
So we'll dig a little deeper into accommodations, but assistive technology. So we work closely with the academic leadership team and technology department. We offer audiobooks, and I mean, we have some students and we have some sensory challenges, right? So we even work with the student life department, reviewing, okay, what does this event going to entail? Do we need to have noise canceling headphones, things like that. So we actually addressed all experiences that the students have because we do have students here, boarders, and a lot of our day students actually will stay the majority of their day, I mean, even through study hall. So we definitely try to make sure we're providing the optimal learning environment for those students. We have Learning Hub, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit more later. Tutoring services that we refer to service providers. We do not have in-house tutoring by faculty, but we do offer tutorial periods. Every faculty member will offer that at least 3 times a week. And the Students of Concern process, and that is facilitated by the Student Support Committee, which meets on a weekly basis, and we will walk through that process because we have a lot of checkpoints to monitor all of the students, whether it's, I've noticed that Mary is just coming to class a little bit late this week. or she's just not herself, she's a little withdrawn. It could be something as simple as that, or there are 3 missing assignments and we need to figure out what's going on. So we're basically investigators.
Right, liaisons, but investigators.
Yeah. So, you will find in independent schools, right, that the population of students that have official accommodations is going to be higher. 1, because of access to evaluation, right? 2, because of the class size, so some behaviors or some issues may pop up. We would say statistically, in a traditional public school, you would have an average of like 11% to like 13% on the high end of students that are diagnosed with learning differences. In my last independent school, I was at St. Andrews in Boca, and we had about 16%. Here at St. Mary's, we have more than 20%. And our most prevalent exceptionality is ADHD and anxiety, generalized anxiety. And so there's something to be said about that being an all-girls school as well, right? And we are very specific when we're talking about generalized diagnosed anxiety, because there is a difference between anxious behavior, which is normal in the learning process, but then there's also that diagnosed, generalized. It's chronic. It is not situational, right? And with that percentage, I would say it really informs our culture around learning support, meaning that there is no stigma. That's not just lip service. There really is no stigma about having accommodations. And since we promote, empowering our students to use their voice, self-advocacy skills are really key. So even students who have testing with accommodations, let's say you have 50% extended time, right? So if you have a test that is traditionally 60 minutes long, you would have an additional half hour, right? So it's 50% of that time added on. So then that student would schedule, they would email us and learning support and then schedule a testing session. That's really important, especially at the secondary level, because in college, you're going to get as much support as you advocate for, right? In high school, we're looking for you. And university, they are a resource, but you have to reach out. So we like for the students to be in that routine of asking for what they need, so that way it's just seamless. And we also help with that transition, speaking with the liaison once you're placed in your college of choice, so that there's a seamless transition. So now that you're hearing about these numbers, just take a minute to reflect and think about what drew you to this session. What are you curious about learning support at St. Mary's? And what does it mean? What do those numbers mean to you? Okay, we have more than 20% of our student body. We have currently over 300 students.
While you're thinking, I just want to add, we do have girls who have accommodation plans or who seek assistance through our office who don't fit that, but that just is the most, those are the 2 most prevalent, those ADHD and anxiety. So there certainly are other categories, and really we know all of our girls are different. So it doesn't say a lot, but that together they're making up 20% is telling. If you have questions about that, or just want to think or even talk, right, so we're open to whatever questions you may have about that.
Now on the social emotional side, with our counseling team, we would say at least 40% of our students engage with the counseling team regularly. And many of our students have their external service provider, so it does not have to be in-house, but it is a resource that's available. And in addition to students who have been determined as eligible for accommodations because of an evaluation, we have students who it may just be a situational issue. What in a traditional school that would be called like a 504 plan, right? So you broke your arm or you had a concussion in a lacrosse match, and so you need some support, you need some extensions, you need fewer assessments on one day, right? Things like that. We facilitate that conversation. I mean, especially, I hate to say the C word, but I mean, with still in a COVID-affected world, we have students who need some accommodations because of the brain fog and things like that to get back on track. Chronic fatigue.
Any questions before we kind of move into about that? And if you wrote, that's fine too, we can talk later.
Okay, so key program components are, we actually manage the standardized assessment for the school. So we help facilitate your request for accommodations for the ACT and the SAT, only for accommodations. So if a student is approved for extended time or testing over multiple days, then you would have the opportunity to test on campus. It's only if it's over multiple days. And that's actually been a change since last year. It used to be you had extended time, you would test on campus.
Okay. So if you have the combination of testing with extended time, you're going to register with that national testing site. We work with students who need the accommodation of testing over multiple days. So for instance, we just had an ACT testing window, right? It was February 11th. When you were approved for testing with accommodations, you're given a 2-week window to complete that assessment. And we have some students where it's been recommended by their clinician, by their tutor, that they take one section per day. And we schedule those assessments.
And that's probably a little bit further down for most of you. We see those usually definitely by junior year, sometimes the end of sophomore year, girls will start checking for SAT and ACT, but that might be a little bit further down the line, but we handle that analysis as well.
Now, as far as the PSAT, we do have a school day where that is administered for our 9th graders. We take the PSAT 89, and then our 10th and 11th graders take the National Merit Qualifying Test. And that is all done in-house. As far as advanced placement exams, we also facilitate that. We are not instrumental in the placement in ages, but there's been a lot of conversation about just helping students prioritize tasks. That executive functioning skills piece comes in line when we're thinking about workload, anxiety, all of that stuff.
So for the 9th graders, PSAT, if they have time, do you do that?
We would do it here at house.
So all of our PSAT 89 is here. So we have a test day where all 9th and 10th, 11th graders will test that day, and we will apply for accommodations on your behalf if you choose to give us permission to do that.
And one thing that is going to be different next year is that it will be digital. It's mandatory at College Board is making the assessment digital. The good thing is we have piloted the digital facility administration the year before, so it's actually easier. It's quicker results, and actually better security. So ATL sessions. When you hear the term ATL, it means approaches to learning. That's often really referring to executive functioning skills. ATL is an IB or International Baccalaureate term, and it just talks about key skills that students would need to be able to demonstrate mastery in before graduation. And so we use that framework to work with students. And like Ashley said, it's any student. And all the students go to us. All the students go to us. And what does that look like? It could look like, we're going to state for the volleyball tournament, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna fail this test, and I know I have an essay also coming up, and I just don't know what to do. Well, let's map out your assignments. Let's take a look, we get a glance, and let's map out your time. Okay, well, we plugged in your assignments. That's great, but that's not reality. Let's actually, okay, so you have practiced 4 hours every day, and all of these things. Let's actually look at your life, look at the time that you're spending, and really prioritize the task. So that way, when you do have that downtime, then you're not inducing that anxiety by thinking about what I should have done. Just break things down into smaller chunks so it's more manageable. I wish I had that before I went to college.
Still do this.
Yeah, I know, right? It's super helpful. It's incredibly helpful. And we have some students that they meet with us once a week and they go through their assignments. And we have this gradual release of responsibility, right? We say we love you, but we can't wait to say goodbye. We want to foster your independence, right? And progress monitoring. We have a student support committee, talk about that, and we also have a student support admissions review committee, meaning that if you are in the admissions process and your daughter has received an evaluation or is going through the evaluation process, we like to walk through those results with you and share out what services that we provide and what would be the best support for your daughter. And at that time, it's when we would draft an accommodations plan, just to kind of give you a snapshot of what it would look like here at St. Mary's.
Do you do that on like a mentoring student as well?
Yes. And so that's why when I mentioned that there's no stigma, it's really important up front to share if you have, even if you haven't completed an evaluation, but you're like, I'm noticing that there's maybe some learning differences or it's just taking them a little longer to get their work done. Let people get started with that, get that ball rolling because the evaluation process can be lengthy. And what we don't want is for a student to suffer because there's been a breakdown in the communication between us, right? Okay, you have accommodations, but you just took this test in the standard time and you didn't have the opportunity to put your best foot forward, right?
I just want to piggyback for just a second. Because we do like for our girls to grow over time, we know that any transition can kind of be a little bit of a step backwards in some regards. So if you are currently operating in that mode where you've been letting go, teachers have let go, but your daughter's doing really well because she's in the habits that are at her current school and she's been working well within that framework, go ahead and let us know that there maybe was a history.
Right.
Even if it was a really long time ago, go ahead and let us know that there has been a history of, so that we can be in front of that on this side of that transition. Because I think it's common that we find, for sure, like, oh, well, I didn't have this problem last year, but actually, when I started in middle school, I can remember a time when I did experience this obstacle, this one. So, just if you can just disclose any and everything about learning history, that's most helpful for us.
And when we talk about academic intervention, we last year we partnered with the admissions department and developed student success plans. And a lot of times, I would say that there's been this perception that it's punitive, but it's really not. See, we don't have IEPs, right? An individual education program like that plan. We don't have that. Our accommodation plan really will just show you what support measures should be in the classroom, in a testing environment, or when it refers to homework, right? It does not say you're going to have executive functioning sessions twice a week, all year long. It doesn't note services. Oh, you're going to go to the counselor. Oh, we have medication management. It doesn't have any of that information, and it's confidential, and it's only accessible by the students that are teaching the actual student. So if it's uploaded in Veracross, and if a teacher is on that student's schedule, they have access just to that information. The diagnosis is very general. So we protect, obviously, the confidentiality of the students. So a success plan is helpful because then it outlines some of those support services that we want to ensure are provided for the student from the beginning. Okay. It's more prescriptive. And we've been talking about actually merging our two documents. So it would be like an abbreviated IEP because it is helpful as our team grows that everyone knows, okay, well, we know the student is successful because they're meeting with us, but it would be helpful if it's just explicit for that student when they're going anywhere else.
I get excited about success plans because it's an iterative model, so you can see what's working and maybe what's not, and then continue to come back to that conversation. So I've been so excited. Most of our girls with success plans, I get to work with them one-on-one, and that has been a really rewarding experience. And they're also some of our most successful because they, everything is out in the open. It's all, like Dr. Higgins said, it's very prescriptive, and we're not playing catch up. We're hitting the ball, hitting first day with a great plan in place, and it's just exciting to see.
Yeah, we like to be proactive. We don't want to have to triage because the thing, like I said,
Exactly.
the students are first.
If you hear the word success plan in your admissions journey, get excited like I am, because it really is it's a great thing.
Okay, so our student support committee involves everybody. We meet on a weekly basis, and we do have a referral process. So any faculty member can refer a student. There's a confidential form that's uploaded to us. We have the counseling team, we have nursing, we have members from the student life team, members from the administration, members from the academics team, and we get into the nitty-gritty, and it's a round table. And so what we do is we monitor students' progress, and who's previously referred, and then we look at any new incidents, basically. So an example could be a student being sick, or a change in behavior, right? Anything that is an anomaly, right? And so what's great is that teachers, faculty, staff, anyone, advisors, if they notice something, they say something, and then we become that investigating unit. So let's say there's hypothetical Sally who walked to SSC, or Ashley, and then we all, okay, what did you notice in class? And why did she have some missing assignments? And I saw on the soccer field that she didn't want to play, or she was really tired. And then we start comparing notes, and then we get a comprehensive profile, right, that way. And then we will assign a liaison, depending on the primary need. So if it's an academic thing, it would most likely be Ashley or myself or Dean Campbell, and we will follow up with the teachers to get more observations, and then we have a meeting with you. We like to partner with you, and then we bring the student in to talk about those action steps. What do some action steps look like? You have a supervised study hall, even as a boarder, okay? So that means that I'm on duty on Monday nights, so that you're gonna check in with me and let me know what you're working on, or you're gonna sit right there with me and we're gonna get things done. And this is applied also to day students. I always say, the only thing you can't always do, even you can sometimes, is spend a night. But, I mean, you can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can stay through study hall if that helps you with that transition. Because sometimes, having such a long day and then going home and then trying to gear back up into an academic mode, it can be challenging. I totally understand. I would personally want to just go to the library and get my work done and then go home and rest.
How does that day actually play out? Right? So class gets out at like 3 or 3:15?
3:20, and then tutorials until 3:40. And tutorial, at least this year, was by student choice. Wherever you need the most help, you can set up those tutorials with your teachers. I'm not sure if it's going to be tweaked, so I won't speak to exactly what tutorial will look like next year, but tutorial was every day, and then from 3, let's say 40-ish to 4 is usually, especially for our freshman girls, a time to transition to whatever their afternoon triangle fitness or sports is for that season.
Yep.
And then dinner's at 6.
Dinner's at 6. And study hall officially starts 7:30 to 9.
The library is open all afternoon. So,
Also
From 7 to 9, though, in the library, there is a faculty member
on duty.
under duty, so if you needed some help or had some questions.
And we were talking about the tutoring services. There are service providers that have been vetted by us. We have them, background screen and all of that. So we can offer that information to you. We also have some members of the National Honor Society where they offer peer tutoring.
I'll just add to that, if your family has been working with a particular tutor and you want that to continue to happen and it would be better for it to take place here on campus, we do have a couple of opportunities for that to happen. We just would need that information, get a background check, all those logistics worked out, but we do have several who have been successful getting to the library for their tutorials, but just that kind of.
So the study hall time is 7:30 to 9. There isn't like an afternoon one.
No, that
Just
now
tutorials.
for first year students, they have a learning lab, which is a supervised study hall, and that would be whenever that's assigned throughout their day.
That's within one of the 8 class areas. And that program is fluid. And sometimes what we see when we are working with students and putting a plan in place is we'll do, okay, we're going to move to maybe a smaller learning lab, maybe have more specialized support, kind of like a triage move. But most of our girls, they come to learning lab the first couple of weeks and they're really not sure, and then they get so busy that they're so attached to that time. So it's a unique thing, but all of our incoming freshmen should have a learning lab.
And learning lab is required for first year and sophomore students their fall semester. At that point, after the first semester of sophomore year, we have a conversation. Should the student have a flex period, what we call flex period free? They would still be checking in for attendance, but then they're free to study wherever they would like, and or should they continue being in a learning lab? I would say about the tutoring, one thing that I like is that we offer so many tutorial opportunities with faculty members here that we do not have that frenzy that you find sometimes in independent schools where the teacher is also trying to tutor, and to me it becomes a conflict of interest. It's not the ideal, right? And so we do have teachers all of our teachers. I had a teacher who was not residential and would come on the weekend to work with students. So this faculty, I can tell you without a doubt, goes above and beyond. If you partner with them, they will partner with you.
Do they have like office hours each teacher too, or, like if, say you're having trouble in science and math, and so there was a science test this week, so you're gonna go to tutorial for science, and now you're worried about math, how does that work if you?
So that tutorial time kind of serves as the office hours, but often teachers use their lunch. Like we meet with a lot of students during lunchtime as well.
Yeah.
So teachers, it's at their discretion, and that really is often when they're so lucky.
And some girls have been lucky, this is not published anywhere, but some girls have been really lucky that during their learning lab, maybe their particular math or science, social studies, history, or whatever teacher may also have a free period. So those are potential office hours as well. You can set up special needs during learning lab.
So we're just talking a little bit about the SEC referral process, right? So it's initiated. In-house, it would be from a referral form that we monitor on a weekly basis. But even as a parent, you may notice something that you haven't seen before. Give us a call, send an email, and this process gets kicked off, right? We collect our data, we meet as a team, we implement whatever that intervention may be, and then we monitor. Like we said, there are students that come onto our monitoring list, and they're doing fine, and so they're released. And so it is fluid, it's a dynamic list. And we just want to make sure that we are really on top of everything, especially with the social emotional piece, because we have students 24 hours, right? And if you don't feel safe, or if there's any other challenges, your brain is not going to be focused on learning, right? If all of these other barriers are occurring. This is an example of our accommodation plan template. Remember we were talking about it doesn't outline the services that a student would receive. It just gives you the supports that are needed for testing in the classroom and homework. So for instance, homework, it might be an extension on assignment or breaking down assignments into benchmarks. So you may have that essay that's due in 2 weeks, but then, okay, I need your introduction in the next 3 days, right? Breaking it down. And so here we talk about partnership. There's a lot of different partners that you're going to be having when your daughter's here at St. Mary's. I mean, advisory is a really key place to funnel all your communication. My advisory, my goodness, they're like babies. We have a Google group chat, like those are girls. And the advisor is that point person, and then they would reach out. So for instance, if a student is referred to the SSC and they have a liaison and it's an academic issue, I would, as that liaison, partner with the advisor to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, and then we would both end up having a conversation with you as the parents. Learning support, we have tutoring services, and college counseling as well. We basically, student services, we work lockstep.
And I think there's an upcoming lunch and learn from college counseling.
I think it's on the bottom of your, so if that is a particular concern for you, maybe start that and make your reservations. But we do work closely with them, but we'll often find ourselves, that's a really good question for college counsel. We typically handle the logistics of some of the testing, so we can answer questions about that, but some of the other more broad questions are really for them. So if you have a plan to come to their lunch and learn, maybe put that on your schedule, start it.
And so what can you do as a parent? Well, familiarize yourself, if your daughter has accommodations, make sure that you're aware of what those accommodations are, and you're aware that your child is receiving them with fidelity. That's our job, but even just having some conversations like, okay, well, how do you feel that test went? What was that experience like? Partnering with the academic team, we've been working on time within the schedule so that we can have, we call them an academic care team, where all of your daughter's teachers are convening with you and then looking at your child's portfolio, essentially. And if there's any issue, notify your advisor first and foremost. And I mean, it can be it's essential. The communication is essential. It could be something as simple as we had something in the family. She may be a little more sensitive right now, so just so you're aware. We take all of that into account.
And if you're not sure if your daughter has an accommodation plan at current school, go ahead and ask now, because that is critical. After the admissions process and when we sit down to do like that intake meeting, like if they're all new students get an intake, that's usually the most helpful. Those evaluations are great, but what is working is key. So we want to make sure that that is seamless and that we are in the same trajectory. So.
And like Ashley said, if you, for any reason, haven't been able to get an evaluation done, but that's a direction that you want to pursue, then reach out to us at the onset so that way we can be supporting your daughter as we walk through that process.
Sure. So we kind of touched on this briefly when we were talking about what ATL sessions can be about. But really, a lot of what we do with girls is back to the basics. Mapping out what is coming, learning from maybe what was not great that we did in the past, and then moving forward. So with working memory, we often find that girls who have struggles with working memory need to do things like write it out, which would be this very top suggestion, working with new information while keeping track of the current. So like I said, moving forward, and then visualization of numbers and math. We often find girls who have deficits in working memory will also have math challenges.
This is that multi-step process.
It really is, and sometimes processing speed kind of goes along with that. So in all of our tutorial rooms in the library, our whiteboards are open, and we actually have movable ones downstairs in the library. A lot of space for girls to kind of put it up in big picture and work through. A lot of them really enjoy doing that, seeing it in that way. And then the pretending like you're teaching method of really getting it when you have to teach someone else. Inhibitory control, we're all still working on that a little bit, to be honest, but working with what helps you focus. You might have homework due for several different classes, and you really need to time yourself. You need to put the phone away and set a timer and commit to working focused, no music, no screen for 20 minutes on this. And I find that the girls really kind of work with that. So just different strategies about maintaining focus.
And it's funny because the same strategy doesn't necessarily work for the same, like just two students next to each other.
Or even the same subject. I know girls who will be like, when you said that timer, I can get through my math, but I read the same page 3 times. So different strategies work for different subjects for different students because they're all very different. And then the cognitive flexibility piece is just, you can talk about it, go for it. I just always am the devil's advocate with girls, and I talk like, okay, this didn't go your way, or this may not go your way, to just kind of give them a heads up through meeting some of those no's.
Managing expectations.
That's huge. Sometimes the no is the stumbling block when it's really supposed to be the lesson, and that's hard. I mean, it's hard for adults to internalize that. That's really hard for our girls who are working really hard and doing what they perceive to be all they can do and not getting the results that they want. So that's a lot of what we do, which crosses over very much with our counselors.
Yes.
They're instrumental in that, but we do see that, especially from the academic lens, in our offices quite a bit.
And I would say, like we mentioned earlier, yes, our primary exceptionalities would be ADHD and generalized anxiety, but we also have a growing population of students who are on the spectrum, right? So talking about not just perseverance, but the ability to adapt to challenges is really key. And that comes in line when we're talking about goal setting, right? Because sometimes it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make straight A's and I'm gonna be an honor roll, and there, it just becomes a static thing that hangs over their head. No, like, let's revisit this. What does that look like? What is the roadmap to get there? Why do you want that goal, right? I mean, let's have that conversation. Why do you think you need to take 7 AP classes? You know, I mean, these are real conversations because the students, part of that anxiety piece is there's a fear of am I enough, and what is it going to take, and am I going to disappoint, right? We have this whole, it's an all-girls school, so there's added layers of just that critical self-accountability, but now it's, am I gonna let my peers down, am I gonna let my family down, right? There's an added layer of relationships.
Speaking of working memory, real quick, and kind of tying back to something you said, a couple of things you guys said. When we were talking about the assessments and the assessments of individual, that's actually a good thing because it's easier to get results. But I feel like a lot of schools are going to all digital, and I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. There's been research done that says things like, for example, taking handwritten notes is scientifically proven to help you retain information versus this. So in this age of everybody wanting to everything digital, how does that come into, especially
There are
when we're
students who
talking
have
about
the accommodation where it's paper-based only. So that is an option for students. When it comes to the assessment piece, that's a little bit different. We're not as digital.
digital as delivery materials in the classroom, and I think it's different by subject. Some girls, I know my daughters benefit from digital and being able to listen to stuff, like so different by subject, by task. But I'm just wondering, just in general, is St. Mary's aware of the dangers of all digital?
For sure, and I have girls all the time, and I'll say they'll find something in their OneNote. You're probably more familiar with this. They'll find something in their OneNote and then they'll lose it, and then they'll start over, and then they'll go back. And so one of the very first things we did was learn how to actually print to the printer from OneNote, and because I'm very much so like that. I have to have it in my hand because that's how I'm going to remember it. So I'm very much like that. They can print from Canvas and from OneNote. Well, at least in the library.
It's great that you guys do that.
And they're welcome to do that. They're not charged per page or anything. It's free. They are welcome to do that. We encourage that if they need it. Then I have
And we're modeling it. I mean,
For
we
sure.
have meetings. Look,
that's easy for me to model because that's what I really like. But we have encouraged, and I don't see that going away. Would you?
No, I would say we're very balanced.
Yeah.
I think we're very balanced with that. Just because we have built up enough veteran teachers also, right? So there's some, we use the term old school, but some things are just, they work, right? So it's not broken, like it works. For instance, like where we're taking notes, definitely that writing is that dual process, you're going to retain it better. But we are infusing some technology into the classroom. I would say more so with our STEM. Like we have our, medical interventions course, things like that. But it is not a one-to-one, everything is, you're stuck to a screen. I mean, that is not. I know there's some schools that have that culture, like it's a tech school. And I would say that I think we're pretty balanced. And we even have some tech prefects in the dorms, where some students that feel pretty savvy with helping students, and it's usually how to print, you know, so, and they're available to help with that. That's a really good question.
And good question about the digitals. Are you still allowed scratch paper? I actually don't know that, so I need to find out if on the digitals, if you when and when you may not have scratch paper still available to work things for me.
PSAT, we were, but it may have changed now that they've finished with the pilot.
She may have
Good question.
But we already have some students that their accommodation, when we did the pilot, they were like, I need you to know that paper-based is always there, I can take this, and that's not a problem. And I was laughing about our paper-based conversations, because every time Ashley and I have a meeting, she'll say, I need to check my G drive, and I turn to my computer and she pulls out this big notebook.
I'm on student number 3 for this.
So we definitely believe in print and digital. So what are some of the skills that are related to executive functioning? Because it's like a buzzword, right? So everyone's talking about it. And these are just basic like life skills, prioritizing tasks, meeting deadlines, showing up to class on time, right? You have to prioritize some things, right? To be able to, you have to have cognitive flexibility. If there's traffic, if there's this, right? The dog is sick, all these different things, problem solving. The skills of self-advocacy and collaboration. All of these things are things that are promoted in the classroom, but we're very explicit in reinforcing in learning lab and in our learning support sessions.
In fact, we try to push the planner,
Yeah.
but we're very flexible. You can have a digital planner, or you can have handwritten planner. However your learners are planning, that's great, but we just stress that they are planning. So I'm probably more well equipped to model the handwritten planners, and I am great with the digital planners, but you can start that process even now with your girls if it hasn't already been part of the routine, and it will just better prepare them for what is coming. For
And
sure.
this is part of the trends with education. We've had conversations with NC State and their psych services department, and they offer an executive functioning skills camp for students who are rising into middle school, rising into high school, right? So they're completing 6th grade, completing 5th grade, completing 8th grade. And we offer a summer accelerator that also reinforces some of those skills and helps students navigate some of the key components of like Canvas, OneNote, the email system. What is navigating life as an SMS student look like?
And the action.
So do you offer that with the rising freshmen? That's summer going in?
So just because we like to,
Yes.
oh, that was a question.
Summer, right?
Yes, yes. And just because we like to some goodies, I'm sure you already do these things, but just so that you're aware, you're already enhancing your child's executive function skills, right? So we talked about working memory and being able to do like multi-step things, being able to retain information while you're working on another task. So at home, it could be something as simple as becoming the student, right? Asking the student to explain a core concept that they learned that day. Asking the student to walk through a recipe, like, well, how do you make that, right? Because you have to go through that sequential process, and it's going to really jog your working memory. And so that's just it's the simple way that you're working on those skills. Inhibitory control. I'm sure your students are learning about inventory control when they're in the car with you, right? So whether it's a positive experience or not, I mean, that's at your discretion. But, how do you handle a challenge, right? And when I was teaching math, I used to say like, okay, let's throw a wrench in it. What if I throw this variable in there? What are we gonna do? What do you think is gonna happen, right? And just that willingness to be like, thinking out loud, modeling the problem solving process. And a lot of this stuff you already do, but now that you have that awareness that you're helping your child with and inventory control, even acknowledging your own emotions. Like I'm really frustrated, I'm gonna need a second. I'm feeling kind of anxious, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about this, but it's gonna be fine. It sounds very like Avatar. It sounds very Daniel Tiger-ish, but it's important because these are skills that are going to help you be successful. We don't just want automatons. We don't just want scholars on paper. We want your daughter to be whole, right? That they graduate and they're healthy and they're happy and they're ready for the next step. And last but not least, cognitive flexibility, breaking things down. We're getting ready to have winter break. So something as simple as planning a trip together, right? Mapping things out, having them take the reins. That's an activity in cognitive flexibility. And also with inhibitory control, we find pragmatic skills. Taking turns, playing games. How do you engage in the rules, right? All of that is collaboration, but that's also inhibitory control. Now, one caveat, developmentally, they're not supposed to have all of these skills mastered, right? So I don't want you to go home and be like,
That's always my excuse.
I mean, the frontal lobe, it's still developing. It takes a while. So even at graduation, that frontal lobe, I need you to know, is still developing. So it's appropriate for them to have trouble meeting deadlines and prioritizing tasks, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just information, and now we know what we need to do to support them. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can email us. It's best if you email learning support at SMS because it goes to both of us, and that way we can kind of parse it out and make sure we don't break down communication. And this I call him the tiniest mayor of Raleigh, that's Caleb. And so we're both mamas first. And I always say, okay, is this a Caleb caliber program? Am I happy with what we're doing? Yeah, we have room to grow and things that we can enhance. But just so you're aware, we're not only educators, but we also know what it is, or just the value that you're placing in what we're providing, because there's nothing more important than your job, right? You're here because you care for your child being successful. So we know what that means, and we take this very seriously.
Any questions?
I have a question. So, does this all, kind of the ETL, all this kind of planning for the girls, does this all take place in the intake? Is that an individual thing that you do every year? And that's when we kind of get involved rolling with all that?
It is, I think, late summer, a survey. We're gonna start with a survey.
Right, so if you didn't share that information during the admission process, because we like to have an initial meeting before the end of the school year to draft out the accommodations if that has already been determined. But then in the summer, there will be a form that I would like to engage with the learning support team. And then by the end of August, we've mapped out whatever we're going to do.
I think we did most of it in the first couple of weeks of August last year. So our timeline holds true.
And when is that, the summer accelerator, when does that take place?
I'm not sure if the dates have been identified yet, but
Katie Wellman is really key in that program. We partner with her and some lead faculty members. And so the dates are TBD. Sure. But it will be a 1 week. The preference is for it to be on campus. Last year we had synchronous and asynchronous options. And just because we know we have international students and want to have access. But it would probably be either that last week of July or first.
In the summer.
Yeah, summer.
I know
sorry.
Right. And Summer Accelerator is not so much content-based as far as drilling intervention with math and English, but it's getting those key skills. Like for instance, we'll have a conversation with all department chairs. And what are the issues that you have found in your first year class? What do you wish they came in knowing, right? And those are the things that we share with students.
If you have questions for us, just jot down learning support. If yours is maybe more confidential or if it's more specific, we will do what we can, but most of your questions at this point, I think, are still through admissions. So back to Ms. Mills, and she will filter to us any concerns, any specifics, and it's just been a treat to be here with you. So thank you for coming. Enjoy your lunch if you didn't already.
I just want to wrap up by bringing your attention to some of the dates on the bottom of the handout. Most of you in this room have submitted an application for your daughter and or that's been completed or is in the process of being completed. So just to be aware, our notification date on admission decisions is March 10th. On March 27th, we have a special event just for admitted students to come back to school and parents as well to kind of take a deeper dive and to really have the girls meet future classmates. And then April 10th is new student enrollment deadline. And then for those of you who may have a 7th grader as well, we have a visitation event just for them on May 5th, a 7th grade sneak peek. Just a brief introduction to the school before they head into the summer in the 8th grade. So yeah, if there's any questions pertaining to the admission process or just kind of where you guys are in that, we're in the throes of reading lots of files every day. So just keep us posted, let us know, and we thank you for coming. Thanks for giving up an hour of your day. Yeah, all right.